This is the Toward a New World podcast with your host, Corinna Stoffel. As a space for all things regarding the global, collective transition we are in, we have conversations about transition, separation, and connection regarding oneself, others, and the earth. The aim is to educate, empower, and inspire.
Hello and welcome. Here we are again, another Thursday. And today's theme is stories. We humans love stories. I mean, just think back or remember a time when you were sitting around the campfire and telling stories, or sitting in front of a fireplace in the winter and sharing stories, or watching them. We love good movies. So, telling our story. We also like to tell our own story. And that can have two effects. Sitting with that story and storytelling, watching other people, watching myself. Storytelling ourselves stories can have a healing effect, or it can have a limiting and ultimately destructive effect. And for today, I would like to focus on the latter one and do the healing at another point. We tend to see the world through our lenses, through the lens of our beliefs. And guess what? If we tell a story, that story is also colored by that lens, by those beliefs. And then we go into repeating the story and repeating the story and repeating the story. And guess what happens? We start to believe that that is the truth. This is how it really happened. This is how the first and then the second and the third thing evolved. But did it? Not necessarily. And it even doesn't have anything to do with story, but I remember my siblings and I, we grew up in the same household. As a family, we did the same things, and yet when the conversation comes up about, do you remember when? There's different stories. There's different memories even. And what I mean with memories is just like, I remember that. I don't remember that. And okay, that's fine. But the fact is we have different memories. And those memories are based on the stories we have told ourselves. So, is this how it really happened? What really happened? Think about that. Do you have any experiences, memories of there being differences in the story? And as I go through my days, sometimes I catch myself telling myself a story. Oh, this is just what happened, or I thought that. And I catch myself doing that in the moment and then drop it, because I am aware of what the story does to ourselves. And stories, as I said, are based on our belief systems, based on the emotion that we felt when we started telling the story the first time. And then we reinforce that. And I remember having the belief system that I will never be successful. Besides having been told that by people, I also believed it because I didn't fit in. And if you don't fit in, you can't really be successful, was my belief. Let's get to that in a moment. Why do we tell ourselves stories? That would be a good place to look at. We tell ourselves stories to make sense of what is going on around us. And that may involve us, even may not involve us. I mean, how do we get to interpretations of, oh, this happened and that means that, and this is why it happened? To some extent, we take on what others say, how others interpret an event, but mostly we do our own sense making. And that can get us into trouble. For instance, if we make sense of the world that is going on right now around us, how easily could we get into a story of, oh, people are just mean. People don't care. People are only out for themselves. And not that cannot is not true in individual instances. But how many people are there that actually care, that are not out for themselves? But if we have that filter of, oh, people are mean, people are bad, don't care, can we let anything else in? It's sort of like we have blinders, and those blinders are programmed to only allow that which follows our belief system, which supports our belief system. That is let in. Everything else is kept out. And so we start living in a distorted world, in a world that is not real, or only this much real, you know? There is so much more to it. And I have experienced that myself. As I said, I used to have the belief that I cannot fit in because I'm so different. Eventually, over the years, I have learned there is actually a lot of people that I do fit in with. And those people are successful. Therefore, maybe I could be successful. And it's really, are we willing to question the story that we created? Are we willing to allow that different information to come in? Are we willing to proactively look for a different perspective and see, what if my story is not true? Are there signs? Are there events? Are there things that show me a different way, show me a different reality. And as I've become more and more willing to do that, and initially even become aware of the effect of the story, and even before then, become aware that I am telling myself a story. That is the key, to really become aware and question oneself. Am I telling myself a story here? Or what is going on? Where does this come from? And as I said, as I've become willing to question the story and the beliefs that I have, my world has started to open up. And I want to invite you right now. How is your world? How is your energy? Are you waking up in the morning with, yay, another day, and I'm so stoked to get to do whatever it is that you're doing. I'm excited, I'm alive. Or are you saying, oh God, another day, okay. I have been mildly depressed, what I would call mildly depressed, most of my life. There were some periods where that wasn't the case. And I've come to see that there was this correlation between the stories I was telling myself and the amount of energy that I had, the amount of joy of living that I had. Where is that with you? Would you be willing to look at that? Would you be willing to look at what story am I telling myself? And write a new story if the story is not jazzing you up, energizing you. What? I can write a new story, but this is my life. No, it's your life seen through the lens of your story. Play with it. Tell yourself a different story and see how you feel. And when I say tell yourself a different story, I do not mean, oh, my life is so depressing, I'm going to do a pretend story. No, tell yourself a story that is somewhat different, that has a bit more energy, and see what happens. Or pick up on an event during the day that gave you joy and make that the center of the story. We can limit ourselves or we can expand ourselves depending on the story. And I know what I was just saying sort of sounds like the other aspect of what I referred to beginning, but it's a little bit in that direction, but there is even more possible with how we tell ourselves stories. So I invite you to sit with it, explore it during this coming week, even if you would be so kind or daring, depending on the way you look at it, and leave a comment. Just let me know what this is bringing up for you. And I look forward to meeting you again next week. Take care.